Hi, in this lesson, we're learning about backing up for creative online teachers so that you can be ready in case anything happens to your computer, your files, and if you have to go back, you can go back. Hi, I'm Angel from RT Course Experts, and we help creative online course teachers with their tech. In this lesson, we're learning all about backup tips. We're going to learn what is it, why use it, how to use it, and then we're going to go over the different options to back up. Finally, we'll summarize our top tips. First of all, what is it? So backing up is the process of making copies of all your files, your documents, your media, your apps, your settings, even things that you may just use on your operating system. So a backup is basically that there's potentially one or more of every single thing that you do in case you need to go back to that Word document from last month or in case your computer crashes. When you back up, you or a system is actually making a copy of every single one of those important files. So those copies, they could live right on your computer or they could be somewhere else on a server, a USB drive in your closet. Now, why use backups? Well, backups are very useful in case your computer crashes, maybe your computer is stolen or lost or erased, something went wrong, maybe it got modified, maybe your operating system upgrade crashed and now you can't get into your computer and you need another computer. Or maybe you modified a file in a way that you don't like and you want to go back to that earlier version, and maybe that app or tool doesn't let you undo. You literally got to go back because you've lost all your changes. You need to go back to that older version. So having a backup lets you go there. Or maybe in the future, you're using your computer and you need a file from 5 years ago from your prior computer, and it's good that you have a backup of something that you did there. Maybe it was a legal document, or maybe it was a process or some write-up that you had. It's very helpful to have backups, and it's one less thing you need to worry about, especially if you just make it a process. So let's go over some of the different things that you're going to be thinking about when backing up. Let's go over some of the different things you're going to be thinking about. Some of the first files are your main computer. This is you, the owner, the VA, or every individual. They're thinking about their computer. So they have local files. Maybe they have legal documents like forming your company, or personal documents, your bio photos, or documents, or even all your passwords that may or may not be shared out there. You have your swipe files and samples. You may have application files that each of them have data. So for example, maybe using Microsoft Word, and every time you create a file, it puts a file somewhere. So you need to go get those files. You may have application files. These are programs that you run on your local computer that have files. So this might be, maybe it's your Adobe program, maybe it's Microsoft Word. They put files in certain places. So you need to back those up. Or maybe it's like your Chrome bookmarks and you've spent a lot of time creating that perfect bookmark collection that you don't want to lose and start over with a new computer. You can also back up a lot of the operating system folders that you may not really think about. They're just these other folders. So there's folders like your user, which is your name. When you log in, you have all your files hidden in there. And you may not look at that folder often, but the point is you need to think about that these are places that you need to back up. And maybe your desktop has not just links, but actual files. So you may want to move those. So it's a little bit of cleanup, organizing, putting things in the right place. And then also as part of that, you're backing them up. You have downloads, or you might have a media folder where maybe you've downloaded from your browser or screenshots or whatever. These are all different types of operating system folders, whether you're on a Mac or Windows. There are these extra folders that you just need to be aware of that you should be backing up. Another set of folders that you're going to want to back up are your team content. So these are kind of online folders that you collaborate with your team. So maybe it's your Google Drive or your Microsoft Teams OneDrive. So these are documents, slides, sheets, even databases that you might have on Notion or wikis, or you want to periodically download those Notion databases, even though they're online, but just in case, maybe you lose your account, maybe something changes and you delete that database or a part of that database, you may have creative stuff, images, videos, etc., that have been created. They're stored in some shared drive. It could be Dropbox, Google Drive, etc. Or it could be even online, like on Canva or Descript, even your task list, right? Everything you have on Trello, Asana, ClickUp, etc. You may want to periodically download those tasks so that you have a copy of it in case something were to go wrong. Then you're going to want to think about all the different areas of your business. So, for example, from an administration point of view, you may have your vendors, all the different suppliers that help you with different things. These could be physical suppliers like Amazon Business, or it could be just online providers that are giving you tools. So you don't want to lose your vendors, your passwords, your accounts, all that sort of stuff. And also from an administration point of view, obviously you have email and calendar, but you may also have monthly or weekly stats for your business. So all those spreadsheets, all those numbers, you've been tracking your progress for potentially several years. So you want to have all those stats saved if something were to go wrong with your computer. From a human resources point of view, you're going to have information about your team. Who are they? What are their emails? What's their backup emails? How do you pay them? All this sort of stuff. Maybe your messages with them, whether it's on Slack or Discord or Microsoft Teams. But in some cases, you may want to back up certain conversations or folders so that you can get back to your team. From a marketing point of view, you're going to want to back up all your branding, right? Your creative, your images, your logos, your colors, your voice. You can have all these different style guides. So they need to be in a great place that's backed up. If they're mostly on ClickUp or Google Drive, there's no reason why you couldn't back those up as well, just so you have a backup of it, whether it's on a USB or just on your home computer as a backup. And the same thing with emails. You may use a tool like ConvertKit or MailChimp, but it might be good to have a local copy or another online copy of what you've programmed in MailChimp, right? Every single email, what's the subject, the body, the title, so that if you needed to, you can recreate. You can also audit your email automation. These are all good things. And the same thing with social, all your profiles, all your information, your descriptions, everything about every single one of your social profiles, you're going to want to have backed up. And the same thing with finance. Right? So from a finance point of view, you might have on your local drive some information for your banks or your taxes, but you'll want to have that backed up. And in some cases, you might have a VA or yourself that downloads monthly statements or receipts. Maybe when you get an email, you put your receipts in a certain admin or receipts folder. That's great, but then you should download it periodically or back them up so that you can go back to these receipts or statements. Okay. And the same thing from a technology point of view. You may have systems like your WordPress that you need to periodically back up, or even your actual blog where you have every single one has articles. So where is that? So is that backed up somewhere? It should be. And then from an operations point of view, you're going to have lots and lots of procedures for your team so that you can systemize, say this, do this with the customers, the students, the clients, your community. So you're going to have these procedures, and then you're going to have tasks. So again, you're going to want to have copies of this just in case something were to go wrong. You can get your business back on track. From a sales point of view, you're going to want to have backups of all your customer lists, right? Your accounts, your leads, actual students that are on your program. Maybe they're sort of in MailChimp or ConvertKit or Aweber, but not really. Maybe you should go ahead and download them. Maybe you're using a CRM like HubSpot or Pipedrive, or maybe it's just a simple Notion database that you have, but that's okay. You're going to want a copy of that. Maybe it's not just sales, but it's your affiliates or partners. So you're going to want to have backups of all those kinds of things in your business. And then finally, but not least, all your training content, right? So as you know, we're helping creative online teachers. So that could mean your courses, your videos, your lessons, your resource PDFs, your quizzes, your online community resources, and your structure, all the different carefully created rooms that you have on your community. And then, of course, all your coaching stuff, one-on-one, cohorts, groups, notes, and schedules. Yeah, it might be out there, but you should have the original version backed up, stored, and in case you ever need to make an edit or continue from there. Next up, let's go into some of the different ways you can back up all your files. So let's go row by row here. So first of all, you can use a local USB storage. They're very affordable. They're ginormous with terabytes of data. So they're easy to copy, but the problem is they're manual. You have to remember to back them up. So you have to put a little reminder in your calendar that says, hey, it's time to back up, whether it's weekly or monthly, or if you do have a problem and you didn't back up, then your last backup was 4 months ago. So that's nice, but not awesome. So it's a little bit tricky. And in the really bad situations, your backup is probably at home. So if something were to happen to your home, it would have been ideal that that backup was off-site in a different location. But if you don't have anything, a local USB storage is a great way to start with a periodic, maybe once a month backup. Next up, you can actually go ahead and pay for some backup software, or maybe some of the operating systems on Mac and Windows have some very simple backup operations. Now, that'll be automatic, but they might only have one official snapshot. So you can't go back to last July last year. You can only go back to the one prior snapshot versus, so you have what's on your computer now and that one snapshot potentially. And again, this backup is dependent on your computer. So if your computer hard drive were to go bad, you might lose that copy. Or if you weren't advanced enough to have different partitions and other things on your hard drive, then it's all together. So if one thing happens, basically your working copies and your backups are on the same hard drive. So again, if you lose your computer, it's stolen, your OS crashes, you might not be able to get to your backups. So you want some other options. Another option is online backup software. So this is where you get software that automatically behind the scenes is looking for changes as you do your job and periodically throughout the day uploading to some offline server. So this is awesome because it's automatic, it's every day, but you got to probably pay for it, right? So it's a little expensive. And if you have a team or you have multiple computers, you probably have to pay for different licenses. And so that could get tricky. Some people like to use a network hard drive. So they go to their electronics store, they get similar to a USB drive, but it's a little smarter. And it's a device that they connect to the network. And it makes a shared drive that you can use at home or in your office. And it's large and you can use it for your daily files. Some people just work off that shared drive, but that's not a backup. You need to use your computer and then periodically copy to that shared drive. So it could be a little tricky. You also want to make sure that you have a firewall and other security things so that you don't want your network drive fully available to the outside. Another option is to have online file storage. So this is where everybody's using their computers on their team, but you upload to Dropbox or Box.net or something like that. So you're uploading periodically and everybody collaborates. So that's great because once you upload to these online services, they're creating multiple backups. So they might be able to restore a prior version. It's offsite. So you can access, if something happens to your computer, you can use another computer to log in and get back your files. So that's great that you have this online file storage. It could be even free, like Google Drive. It doesn't have to be Dropbox. But after a little while, you're going to have to pay for the higher storage. And then also browsing some of these online file storages are not as easy as browsing your local files on your computer. So if you're picking and choosing just one file, that might be okay. But if you really are using the online file storage for kind of everyday file management, that might be a little tricky. Finally, let's talk about online apps and tools. So these are apps that you're just using. You log in, maybe it's an app, maybe it's a browser, you log in and your data is there up in the cloud somewhere. So this is great because it's automatic. Multiple team members can use it. It's off-site. And periodically, maybe, I don't know, once or twice a year, you can even export all your tasks or all your documents, but it's there, it's constantly being backed up, and that's great. But sometimes for some of these apps, they're going to make you pay for user licenses, or they might make you pay for extra storage. And of course, there's always a couple of times in a year where you don't have online access. Maybe it's your local provider, or maybe it's a couple of times a year where the Amazons or the Google or Microsoft servers, for whatever reason, they're getting an attack or there's a big outage. So at that point, you don't have access to your files. So that's another good reason why periodically you may want to have a local copy of some of those files. If you want to level up from your current situation, I recommend you use a combination of local and online, right? So you have your local computer and then you have these online backups. And in addition to that, think not only for yourself, but for your whole team. What about if something happens to your data that's in the cloud? How can you guys go back a few versions? Or how can you restore fully like it didn't happen? And remember, having backups is going to let you innovate and be more creative in the future because you're confident that, yeah, it's okay. Let's make an experiment. Let's try. If we don't like it, we can go back. We can have multiple copies. And so that sort of mindset makes you stronger and lets you go faster into your future as you guys grow and scale. So let's summarize the main things of backing up. You want to have copies, local, online. You want to think about all your files. Some files that maybe you don't share, like your legal or banking documents. You want to have copies of all this stuff. You want to think about every single team member. Are they using collaborative tools? Are there files on their side? Or did they upload it to the shared drive? And then, by the way, did they transfer ownership in case those contractors or employees leave? And then think about all your business areas. So start thinking about everything you do, and then where are these files? And if you needed to, could you go back to prior versions? So now you're a lot smarter on backing up for your online creative business. To learn more, check out the info and links in the notes. If you're loving this stuff, subscribe to keep leveling up your creative business. And if you need any tech help with your courses, community, or teacher website, visit www.rtcourseexperts.com. Thanks for hanging out. Let's stay in touch.